Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Angela Reynolds, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, and Ben and Noel Bruning. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has the E.P. Ripley heading into Main Street Station. Below is a floral Mickey Mouse and guests walking past attraction posters for the Jungle Cruise, the Golden Horseshoe Review, and Nature's Wonderland. On the back it reads, guests entering the Magic Kingdom are greeted by a floral Mickey Mouse and the Santa Fe and Disneyland Depot, where a scaled-down model of a passenger train of another era puffs out of the station to take them on a scenic tour of Disneyland. It's postmarked June 21st, 1967, with a Costa Mesa cancel and a 4-cent black and white Lincoln postage stamp, Scott number 1282. I assume they visited the park on Monday, June 19, 1967, when park hours were from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., The weather was a high of 78 and a low of 56. It's addressed to Miss Luann Namath of Salesville, Ohio. It reads, Tuesday. Hi. Having a nice time, and I'm very tired after being at Disneyland all day yesterday, Knott's Berry Farm today, and going to Marineland tomorrow. See you soon, Sharon. Since last week we looked at the 1990 Disneyland maps, this week let's take a little dive into the design style choices and information in the Today at Disneyland or the Disneyland Today multifold brochures. These guides were additional to the standard park map, including showtimes, schedules, and additional information focused around what was happening at the park during a specific time period. No longer than a full week, but as short as 2 days, like a Saturday and Sunday. Since all of them are a little different, let's look at some of the features they all, or most of them, include. They all include a map of the parking lot and a simple map of the park. The park map includes a breakdown of the lands of Disneyland, the parade route, and specific locations where guests could enjoy scheduled entertainment. These entertainment locations include Big Thunder Mountain Ranch, Tomorrowland Terrace, Plaza Gardens, Coke Corner, as well as locations labeled with letters around the park to designate where certain performances would be held. The images on the cover rotate through the year. Similar to the maps of 1990, there were covers with the Mickey and Minnie balloon floats, the Pluto float with a castle in the background, plus a cover with the Mickey balloon float, along with the Donald balloon float on Main Street. And some included the Santa Claus float passing by the castle from the Very Merry Christmas Parade. One of the more interesting changes was the printing going from full color from the start of the year to mid-June. Then, switching to mostly black and white with a few color accents for the rest of the year. Mid-June was also the switch from the brochure's title from Today at Disneyland to Disneyland Today, and going from a 5-panel double-sided brochure to a 4-panel double-sided brochure. All of the brochures have the advertisement which reads, American Express Cards, the official card of Disneyland and Walt Disney World at the bottom of the front cover. All of the brochures also have a breakdown of the tickets and annual passes. Sometime between the end of October and the beginning of November, prices changed. The price of an annual pass for an adult went up around 10% from $165 to $180. Most of the ticket prices also went up about 10%. It's also interesting to note that children under 2 were free, as opposed to the current 3 and under standard of today. Another panel prevalent in all the daily guides was focused on the Dream Machine and the 35th anniversary of the park. This was sponsored by Delta Airlines and mentioned that a brand new Geo car or truck would be given away every day of the 365-day year, as well as over 400,000 prizes, including Delta Airline tickets and a $1,000 savings bond. Looking at a photo on that page, you can see Mickey, Donald, and Goofy around other prizes like Dumbo and Alice in Wonderland on VHS, watches, and pins. There's also an advertisement for Disney dollars somewhere in each brochure. They were still a relatively new item at the park. See episode 131, Cent with a Dollar, for the history of the Mickey Mouse currency. The highlight of the ads is the brand new $10 Minnie Mouse bill. Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following the EP Sunday sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to enfieldpost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and enfieldpost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has 4 images of Disneyland: Sleeping Beauty Castle in the upper left, the Mark Twain in the upper right, a Jungle Cruise boat going through the Hippo Pool on the bottom left, and the entrance to Tomorrowland on the bottom right. In the center, in red Gothic font, it reads Disneyland. On the back it reads 1. Sleeping Beauty Castle, 2. Mark Twain Steamboat, 3. Jungle Cruise, 4. Tomorrowland. It's postmarked December 29, 1971, with an Anaheim cancel and an 8-cent U.S. Mail Postal Service emblem postage stamp, Scott number 1396. I assume they visit the park on Tuesday, December 28, 1971, when park hours were from 8 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 53 and a low of 43, with 1.5 inches of precipitation. It's addressed to Mrs. John H. Watson of Salesville, Ohio. It reads, 1228. Hi, can you imagine anyone so crazy? It's in the 40s, snow on all the mountains, and rain part of the day, but time is short. For the rest, later, Aunt Ruth. The main reason guests would grab these brochures is for the information inside about the different shows and performances throughout the park. Most of the year, the only parade that was at the park was the Party Gras Parade. The Very Merry Christmas Parade started in late November and ran through New Year's, and in the summer, you could catch the Main Street Electrical Parade at night. One show that was added in June and ran through the rest of the year was the Dick Tracy Live Show at the Videopolis stage, called Diamond Double Cross. See episode 266, Sent by Side by Side, for more history about that show. There is also a Dick Tracy-themed show in Tomorrowland, which was a musical group called Dick Tracy's G-Men, who played on the Tomorrowland Terrace stage. Throughout the year, there were 2 shows that would play on the Tomorrowland Terrace stage. One performance group was called Voyager, and another called Discovery. Tomorrowland was also home to the intergalactic sounds of Transtar, described to be performing Endor's top 40 favorites, playing near the Space Place restaurant and the Magic Eye Theater. There were many events and performers who were there for a limited number of days or weeks. There were some shows that are listed throughout most of the year, like the Sword and the Stone Ceremony, the Golden Horseshoe Jamboree, Farley the Fiddler, Billy Hill and the Hillbillies, the 35th Anniversary Follies, along with standards like the Disneyland Band, the Dapper Dans, and the Cafe Corner Pianist. Finally, a last fun detail are the small advertisements in the weekly or bi-weekly pamphlets. One was for the Person of the Century, which was a poll being held at Epcot. Another was for the 1939 exhibit on the Queen Mary, which Disney owned at the time, and a simple logo or one-line ads at the bottom of the daily schedules for TV shows like Rescue Rangers, The Challengers, hosted by Dick Clark, and The Magical World of Disney, or movies like Dick Tracy, The Jungle Book, Fantasia's 50th re-release, and Rescuers Down Under. My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard is a cutout rectangle from a Lipton tea box, which has been decorated with Mickey Mouse, Winnie the Pooh, and Chippendale washi tape, foreign postage stamps, a Goofy sticker, a cutout star flower shape, and I found a Nemo sticker in the corner. It's not postmarked, but knowing the sender, it was sent after the beginning of the year from Southern California with a sweet, pin-back button, forever postage stamp, Scott number 5922. It reads, Happy New Year. Looking forward to seeing you at Disneyland. April. Thank you so much for the postcard, April. Happy New Year indeed. This is the second crafted sticker postcard that you've sent. I love getting mail like this, knowing that it's original and extra time was spent making this fun, upcycled project. I really enjoy the cutout window you made. It's a unique feature I haven't seen on many art postcards. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sent from Disneyland or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell, theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.